Everybody, it's that time again. Another episode of Counterpoint with Rory Sauter and Paul Davis. Happy Friday. I hope you all are doing very well. It's been quite the week. The weekend is here. We made it. Headline after headline. Paul Davis, it's great to see you, man. It's been a while. What's been going on?
Oh, well, like I
We
said,
haven't done a show in a couple weeks.
I know. Yeah. I don't even remember what happened last week. I had to travel and I just forgot. I forgot to tell you I was traveling. If I don't put it on my calendar, which I just need to put it on my calendar, then I'm liable to forget. So that's totally my bad. But I've been traveling all this last week because, I was saying it before the technical difficulties that I'm getting a homestead off the grid. And I think that's what, if you can do that, I think people need to do that because I think we're going to have a wild 2024. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on and a lot of things that could go wrong. And I just don't trust the stability of our society. Call me crazy, but that's just what I think. I think we're in for a wild ride.
And the off the grid scenario is becoming a very trendy thing. It's the way to go if people want to keep their privacy, keep the government away, and really live a healthy, prosperous, peaceful life. And
yeah, exactly. And there's there's communities springing up all over the country with like-minded people. So, it's if you look for it, it's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones back on Twitter. Finally, this is a historic moment. I mean, some people understand, but I don't think enough people really understand how historic this is. This is huge for free speech, for people like us, the independent media speaking the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because he was the first person that was really canceled. That's why it's so historic. Nobody had ever. It's just like all of a sudden, I didn't listen to Alex Jones back then. I didn't know much about him. I just kind of heard he was some crazy conspiracy theorist, and little did I know just the amount of useful information he actually puts out, but he's so demonized, and I totally bought into it back then. And it's just like I remember seeing Alex Jones has been kicked off was it Apple Podcasts and Twitter, and I was just like, well, he must be really crazy, but it's because he's really right.
And Paul, to be fair, he does come off the way he presents things as out there, as very eccentric, very over the top. And that's why it's easy for these mainstream media outlets to use these sound bits, to use these things that many people will view as psychotic. But in reality, majority of his predictions have come true.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen time and time again. He's talking about things 20 years ahead of time. He called out secret societies before anybody was ever even talking about them. He exposed the Bohemian Grove way before anybody really had a lot of knowledge on it. The guy's ahead of his time. He's talked about, these World War III scenarios long before they ever were starting to occur. I mean, we could go on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like people that are ahead of their time tend to get demonized as being a little crazy. And I think, I think he's a legit genius. And, most geniuses are a bit eccentric. I heard Steve Bannon once compare him to he called him like an Old Testament prophet.
Right.
And you think of him like, it's like a lot of people thought John the Baptist was crazy back in his day. But look how right he was. He was the one that predicted, he predicted Jesus coming on the scene. So, I think what happened to him was extremely unfair. And I think it's a huge just victory for free speech that he's back on X. X is now a much better place. And not just him, InfoWars is back on, Owen Schroyer is back on, the War Room show is back on. So,
and next to Tucker Carlson, I would say Alex Jones is the most influential voice in media, the most important person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anybody other than those two.
Yeah, I feel like, the big three for me, I feel is like Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and I think Steve Bannon is for if you're talking about people that are like in the patriot freedom movement that are awake to the globalist new world order and all that stuff. I mean, there's no voices out there that are really bigger than them. I feel like. I mean, Jack Posovic's another big one. There's a lot. There's a few, but yeah, Alex Jones is iconic.
Now, did you hear about Owen Schroyer getting released from prison?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Owen. Owen Schroyer is my favorite broadcaster. Like,
Yeah,
no offense to Alex Jones, he's great.
right.
Owen is just, I don't know, the way he presents, he's rational, he's funny, he's just measured. He's just got a great presentation, and he just makes so much sense whenever he starts talking and analyzing the news. So I was just, and I mean, I've gotten to hang out with him at different events before. He's a great guy. So I wrote him a letter while he was in prison. And interestingly enough, and this just shows what a great guy he is. He took the time to personally message me on Twitter, which I don't think he would have had to look me up. So, just the fact, I'm sure he took the time to message a lot of people back that took the time to write him letters in prison. So that meant a lot to me.
Right. Good stuff, man. I'm glad that he's out, but he should have never been in there in the first place.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, Alex Jones was the test case for just canceling people. Owen Schroyer is like the test case for them putting people actually in prison for their speech, which is what happened. I mean, there's no other way to look at it. The judge, I mean, if you read the transcript, like it literally says that it's because of the things that he's saying. And actually the Supreme Court is now, I don't know if they made a decision, but taking a look at this issue where you can use like what they call relevant conduct to sentence people to, impose a longer sentence or a shorter sentence. And so that's what they did. They're like, oh, he's still talking about the stolen election, so that's why we're putting him in prison. It's like, okay, so you're putting him in prison for the things that he's saying that are clear First Amendment protected speech. So, yeah.
And Alex Jones, what I love about him, and going back to what you said about Schroyer, I totally agree with you. I mean, what they did, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And Alex Jones, though, what I love about him is how he gives everybody a platform, how he's willing to talk to anyone. He gave Kanye, hours and hours to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
A lot of other people wouldn't do that. That's really a beautiful thing. And, that's one of the many reasons why he's so influential.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's such a proponent for free speech. I mean, any network, most other networks are going to, if they have other hosts, they're going to control at least some of their messaging,
right.
Make it harmonious. And he just tells his hosts, hey, just tell the truth as you see it, as long as you're not trying to push a lie for improper means, I'm not going to filter you. I'm not going to put a muzzle on you. And, it's interesting because it's like, I'll watch, InfoWars is just such a great network. Like it's so demonized, and I totally bought into it. I thought it was like this insane conspiracy theory network, and it is a conspiracy theory network, but it's like, it's based on actual writings of the globalists, like things that are actually in evidence. They don't just say stuff, and they have such a great presentation, such a great take on everything. But it's interesting because you'll watch, like when the Israel conflict first broke out, is like I would watch Harrison Smith, I'd have him on just kind of in the background while I was working. And I mean, that guy hates Israel. He never misses an opportunity to criticize not Israel, but like the Zionists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like Alex would come on because, like, for instance, like the bombing of the Gaza hospital, like I was watching Harrison Smith. He's like, oh, Israel definitely did, and he was going through all the evidence. And then Alex Jones came on his show like right after Harrison Smith was like, I think there's a setup, I think it's a false flag. I think Hamas did it, or, he had the complete opposite view. So I was like, well, that's interesting that they let their, and that just shows that he lets his host speak their mind as they see what the truth is.
And I will say that Alex Jones covers things that aren't necessarily political either. Because I know people that follow him for other things. I mean, I wouldn't say stuff like secret societies is always political. You know what I mean? I think there's various things that people are interested in that he talks about that aren't necessarily interested in politics. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think most of the things relate to, I mean, it's his focus is just kind of like what's going on with he focuses on the new world order and just all the things that
Right.
are hidden from the public. I mean, I think one of the most interesting shows he did this last year was with this guy who goes, I don't know his actual name, but he goes by Dark Journalist, and his focus is covering the space program and just kind of all the weird stuff that goes on in the space program and what like things that they've hidden from us. And that was a pretty mind blowing segment. I mean, there's some weird stuff with the space program. So yeah, he cover health topics, spiritual topics. I mean, he talks a lot about God on his show, and it's a good time. So it's like if you're not watching some InfoWars here and there, you're really missing out, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And speaking of the other most influential voice, Tucker Carlson, he just launched his own media network this past week.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is going to do tremendously well. I've said for a long time, I predicted over a year ago that he would do this at some point, and here he is. And he's a master at crafting something like putting something like this together. I mean, the way he can go and recruit talent, the way he can just bring so many amazing things to the media world, and the way he can capitalize and really take people away from all these other horrible networks. His following alone is bigger than I would say all networks combined. And it's going to get even bigger and bigger. He's going to keep growing and growing and growing. And he's such a dynamic force. He's going to be, when it's all said and done, when his career is over, I would say he could go down as the greatest ever. I mean, even better than Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones is great. I think Alex would be a close second, but I think if we're going to look at all around, if we're going to look at the entirety of the way the career went, I would give it to Tucker.
Yeah, no, I think Tucker Carlson is definitely, in my opinion, he's
the package.
Yeah, he's a total package. He's the greatest broadcaster of all time.
Yeah.
Alex Jones even says that about Tucker. I mean, if you watched, did you watch the interview where Tucker had Alex on?
I did. That was phenomenal. That was like 2 hours.
Yeah, it was. And then, and I watched, the Alex Jones show the next day to hear him talk about it. And I mean, it's kind of funny because he has like a man crush on Tucker. It's obvious. Yeah. He was going on and on about how amazing Tucker Carlson was, and how great his property was, and how he's such a outdoorsman and a sportsman, and just kind of like he could do anything. He's like, he could fix a chainsaw. He can, he can hunt and fish and, skin a deer. I mean, he can do it all.
And the way Tucker can reach across party lines and have those conversations that need to be had and just really get the message out there, and the way he resonates with other people, it's special. It's a gift. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love Tucker
Carlson. And the way go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I hadn't checked out his. I've been meaning to check out his network. I've just had such a busy week. Have you checked it out yet?
I haven't looked at everything, but I've seen some of the things that he's presented, and it looks really cool. I'm going to take more of a detailed look. But I will say that the way he gets the truth out there, the way he asks questions that nobody else will ask, you know what I mean? The way he just is a go-getter. I mean, this guy really cares about integrity, about honest journalism. He's, he's not like these other schmucks, these 99% of journalists that are only in it for clickbait, for money, for popularity, for attention. He cares. He cares.
Yeah, I think there's this kind of new category emerging that I'm noticing just as a broad trend, which Elon Musk said it on, that I mentioned before we had technical difficulties and had to reboot the episode, that, they had this Twitter town hall hosted by Mario Narwhal, which anybody who hasn't watched that, you're really missing out like that, or listen to it. It's a Twitter Spaces. It's an amazing conversation. I mean, you have like all the goats on there. Like, so, you know, Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, who else was on there? Matt Gates, General Flynn, who am I leaving out? Laura Loomer. Oh, Jack Posobiec, of course. I mean, huge voice. So it was a fascinating conversation. And like, you know, one part that stuck out to me was where, you know, there was kind of a more, I don't know if he's left wing. I didn't really know much about him. His name was Ed Krasenstein, I think.
Krasenstein, he's a scum. He's a real scum.
Yeah, he came across as kind of,
he's a leftist,
yeah,
hateful, bigot, beta male piece of garbage. Nobody likes that guy, especially people that share our values. I mean, yeah, he's an instigator. And I
don't know why they had him on.
He got kicked off Twitter for like 2 or 3 years. Him and his brother. He has a twin brother.
Yeah, his brother was on too.
Yeah, and they go around causing trouble and pissing people off and just they're all about clickbait.
They weren't really too bad on, I mean, they didn't talk a whole lot on the spaces, but they are on the space. But at one point, Ed was saying, because they were talking about globalism, like the topic was globalism. Ed was like, well, I don't think globalism is what you guys are saying it is. I mean, like, you know, when I talk to people that say they're globalists, like they're basically just like, well, you know, we just believe that no country is more important than any other, and like everybody's all equal and stuff. And they're like, Alex was like, no offense. He's like, I'm not trying to insult you. He's like, that's not what globalism is. He's like, you know, and they kind of tried. And then Elon Musk, I thought, gave a really good, I think it was Elon Musk that gave a really good definition, because he was just like, look, here's how I would divide kind of just the overall globalist versus non-globalist. It's really like the extinctionists versus the humanists. You know, it's like there's the people that believe, he's like, I think here's the litmus test. He's like, if you believe that the earth has such limited resources that we have to, you know, Alex Jones called it like bean counting. He's like, all these globalists are basically just like looking at the earth and like, oh, we don't have enough resources to go around, and we got to bean count and like, you know, make sure like ration everything. And, you know, they want to depopulate the earth. And so it's like this broad category where Elon Musk was just like, you either believe that the earth has enough resources to sustain, you know, the current population and a much larger population, or you think that you're like an extinctionist and you think that humans should, like, we should depopulate the earth basically because it's not sustainable. And, you know, Elon's always, and I agree with him, he's just like, the earth we could have 2-3 times the population that we have now, or even more, because you know, advances in technology, humans are always able to innovate, and we can find ways to produce more food. And I mean, the earth has a ton of resources, and it's still, like, Elon Musk was actually saying, like, he thinks the earth is still fairly sparsely populated. I mean, he's like, you fly over, you know, the flyover states, he's like, you know, if you dropped like Alex Jones was like, you'd have to drop like 10,000 bowling balls to hit a person, you know, like the chances of you hitting somebody are very, you know, are like slim to none. So it's like, you know, there's a lot of empty space out there.
Yeah, Elon Musk has been talking about for a while how we're underpopulated, and he's right. You see all these other billionaires that constantly spew the rhetoric and bullshit narrative that we're overly populated and it's a threat to climate change.
Oh God!
Shut the fuck up!
Get out! It's so delusional. I mean, they're a cult. It's a cult. It's a satanic cult.
A religion.
They're anti-human. They like don't believe in humanity. They don't think that we have the ability to innovate and find, you know, ways to solve the problems that, you know, that we have on Earth. And it's just like, I mean, obviously the whole thing is based on a lie. Like the fact that they're telling the whole population that like CO2 is the problem, like CO2, the thing that plants breathe, you know. It's like, so we need to get rid of CO2, which is what sustains plant life. You know, it's like, did you ever learn in school that, you know, not that everything you learned in school is correct, obviously, but it's like, you know, I think this part's correct, that plants breathe in CO2 and they breathe out oxygen. So like, if you have more CO2, you're going to have a more robust plant life. It's just like, is that just completely lost on these people? It's crazy.
No, I know they're delusional, and they only want their own facts. They don't want to look at the reality, and the people they listen to are the scientists that are paid by the government because
Yeah.
all the independent scientists that are not compromised give us honest, thorough, detailed numbers and explanations on what's really going on. And there is no threat according to their data. The only threatening data is coming from these government scientists that are paid, that are bought and paid for. It's very simple. People
Yeah.
can do the research. It's like 97% are bought and paid for, and then you got that 3% that are trying to get the message out there and get the truth out there. But a lot of times they're censored and they're blocked because God help, God help if these people could get it all out there and everybody would know what's really going on.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, it's like, you talk about how easy it is to buy off a politician. It's like, people don't think it's just as easy to buy off a scientist, obviously right. That is what's going on. And it's fun. I don't know if you were seeing, there's a pretty popular, or it was going viral for a bit. There was a segment on, I think it was just Australian Sky News, where one of the hosts, or I can't remember who it was, but he was confronting, it was like some kind of town hall situation. He was confronting some government official that was advocating for these extreme climate measures. Yeah. And he just calls this person out. He goes, "Do you even know what percentage of the atmosphere is CO2? And they're like, no. He's like, "So you're suggesting that we turn our entire economy on its head and basically like make people's lives very uncomfortable and, make it so that, things are outrageously expensive and we don't have cheap energy and all this stuff. You're going to basically just ruin the entire economy and ruin people's lives over CO2, but you can't even tell me what percentage of the atmosphere it is." And he's like, "Let me tell you, it's I think it was like 0.04%, or it might even be less than that, but some minuscule amount, So it's like, you don't even know the science." He's like, "You're just completely making this stuff up."
Right. No, it's one of those things, man. It's, and then they have all these doomsday predictions. They have all this nonsense, all this propaganda, and then they instill fear in people. And then it just becomes this merry-go-round, this never-ending cycle.
It's amazing that people believe in
and they do. A lot of them do. And you have all these professors telling them that it's real and that they need to prepare. And if they don't, the world's going to end and we're all going to suffer. Fuck.
Yeah. But it's like they've set up a system to where it just, people believe it because they're not being taught to think critically in school. So it's like they just basically believe whatever their professor's telling them. We're being dumbed down in other ways, like, fluoride in the water, lack of proper nutrition. I think, iodine deficiency is one of the most common mineral deficiencies. And that's like one of the most essential ingredients, essential minerals to have for your cognitive abilities. And it's just like, people are just dumb, man. They just like, they're just not, they're distracted, it's just like, oh, here's Netflix, just watch Netflix and, don't do any research. We don't watch any research.
Just go on TikTok, go watch your football game, go watch your Marvel movie. And,
It's sad, man. It's really sad. It's just like, it really makes you lose hope in humanity. But it's, and that's why, like, what stuck out to me, I think the most about that Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk, that town hall, is they came up with kind of I was like, what do we call like this divide? What do we call our side? Is it like, the team humanity versus versus team anti-humanity or whatever? I think and Elon Musk's like, yeah, he's like, team humanity. I think that's a good. He's like, I'm on team humanity. So I think they're like making T-shirts now. It's like team humanity.
Christ, man.
And it's like also, I mean, these globalists, they're just so, they think they're so big-minded that they have this, long, they do have this grand strategy. Okay. But it's like, it's so self-serving. It's like, they just want to control the world. And this whole idea that like, we don't have like, you've all know Harari will be like, this is, humans will basically soon be extinct. We'll all be replaced by machines and stuff. And that's what they're wanting. They don't like humans. And it's like, well, everybody on that Twitter space, like Andrew Tate, he was like, well, we got to make a good showing as humans. He's like, I mean, we need to we need to make more technological advances. Like, have you ever heard of like, I read an article about this. I thought it was pretty interesting. There's like 5 types of civilization. There's like a type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, and type 5. Have you ever heard about this?
No, I haven't. Tell me about it.
It's like a scientific concept. I mean, it almost sounds more sci-fi, but it's based on how much a civilization is able to harness energy. So like we're like still a type 1 civilization according to this theory, to where we can harness, limited types of energy. I can't remember the exact definition, but it's like, then like a type 2 civilization, we would be able to harness like all the energy of our star, the sun, and that would catapult us into just a whole new category of abilities where we could do like interstellar travel and just, a huge breakthrough. And then as you advance, it's just like you can do more and more, like you can start bending time and space and travel between dimensions and stuff. So that's kind of what he was talking about. He's like, we need to just keep advancing scientifically and evolve as a civilization that way. We don't need to just like shut down. It's like we're just going to go out with a whimper. We're just going to be replaced by the AI machines. Like, we deserve a better ending than that.
Speaking of evolving, did you hear about all of these robots that are doing backflips now and punching and running and obeying all commands like maids? I mean, they're flipping burgers at fast food restaurants.
Wow.
Now Wendy's is starting to use AI technology at their window drive-through in various locations. Eventually, they'll probably just be able to read our minds.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
like when we go into a restaurant or we go somewhere eventually, that we won't even need to tell them what we want. They'll just be able to. That's what AI is. That's what TikTok is. Think about it. When you're going through TikTok, how many times has this happened to you? You're thinking about something, the most random fucking thing. Like, I'll give you an example. I was thinking about just a random actor or actress, a random scene in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes later, I'm scrolling through TikTok and it pops up. That's reading. That's mind reading.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean,
does that happen to you? This has happened to me too many times. I'm not talking just once or twice. This has happened on a daily occurrence. This is frequent.
It definitely. I think it happens to everybody if you say it out loud. I can't think of a time.
I don't even say it out loud. I'm just thinking it.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that.
I'll think about the most random. Yeah. Like a random movie scene, 10 minutes later, it's popping right up.
I feel like that has happened to me, but I can't think of a specific example, and maybe I would, but it definitely happens all the time. I mean, like I mean, just this week, it's like I was talking with somebody suggested a book to me on a phone call, and then I go on Amazon and it was like top of my suggestions. I was like, what the?
They're listening.
I was on the phone with somebody, and it's like it ends up in my Amazon suggestions. That's crazy.
We're not safe, dude. We're not safe. No. And speaking of listening and not being safe and privacy being invaded and our boundaries being crossed at the highest level, did you see about the spying bill that they've just passed this? Yeah.
What happened? I didn't hear about
I don't know all the details. I got to read more about it, but it's more severe. It's more crazy than the Patriot Act. Well, yeah. So they're really going all out with this. They're really taking this to the next level. They're not. And there's Republicans that betrayed us that voted for it this week. I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. Massey was talking about it. Thomas Massey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was talking a lot about it on Twitter.
Huh. I'll go through his Twitter. Thomas Massey is my favorite congressman. That guy is such a badass. He just gives 0 Fs.
He's the best, man. I wish he was president, dude. I wish he was running. I think he'd be better than Trump.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
way better. Down. Not even close. It wouldn't even be close. He'd be way better.
Yeah. Like if we could get like Rand Paul and Massey.
Oh, that's the dream ticket, dude. That's the ultimate dynamic duo. That's the ultimate superstar powerhouse ticket, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah. I would love to see. I mean, I wish Trump would pick one of those guys for VP. I know. Who do you think he's going to pick?
I got my issues with Trump, man. I got my issues. And this is coming from somebody that was with him from day one and was his biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pissed. I'm not happy. Operation Warp Speed is a policy to me that is equivalent to like 1,000 failures. Does that make sense? It's one big policy that usually I don't judge somebody off of one policy, but just off that one policy, I'm pissed off. Like that was probably the most horrific, but really. I can't even think of a worse bill passed in recent memory. I mean, the way they went about that, the way it's the biggest fraudulent scheme ever, I believe, as long as I've been alive, perpetrated on the American people. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. An experimental drug, and Operation Warp Speed is a big one, but that's not my only issue with him. The way he printed money endlessly, the way he was giving all these stimulus checks out, all the hirings and the firings, all these idiots he brought in that set America back. He brought a lot of globalists into his administration. The asking for interest rates at -%, dumb. The guy didn't make the best decisions. I mean, he had I would say he had a fair amount of victories. He had a significant amount, but there were quite a few fuck ups.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, actually, it's funny. Just today, I was thinking. I still overall like Trump, but I do have I do share similar concerns for sure. I've been kind of skeptical about Vivek Ramaswamy, only because.
You think he's a puppet? Do you think he's placed in?
I used to think that.
I'm saying that online. I don't know what to believe.
I'm thinking it less and less these days. Like, I used to think that because I just was like, okay, this guy kind of came out of nowhere. I'd never really heard of him before. Like, I know he wrote that book, but he wasn't like the Woke Inc. I think wasn't that his book, the Woke Inc., where he's talking about how woke
something like that. Yeah.
That's the first time I'd ever heard of him. And then, but he wasn't like that politically vocal, I feel like. And then it's just like he just came out of nowhere and just started saying like literally everything I wanted to hear. And I was it's almost like somebody just put him in front of a bunch of focus groups and gave him a bunch of talking points, and he's just like, he just stays on point. But I don't know, like the more I watch him and the more I like listen to him on conversations, I mean, it would be pretty hard if he's a fraud, he's pretty damn good at it. Because like, just the off the cuff conversations he has, it's just, you can kind of tell when somebody's fake and they have talking points. They don't really mean what they're saying. It's like they're just kind of regurgitating something.
Right.
The more I watch him, I just don't get that sense about him, So, and it was today the first time I was like, because I listened to him on he was on that X Spaces I was talking about,
Gotcha.
Alex Jones and everybody else. And I was like, man, I really like that guy. Like, I almost like would want him to be president instead of Trump. I mean, I'm not switching my support. And it's kind of a foregone conclusion. I think Trump will be the nominee barring some cataclysmic event. And I definitely support Trump. I have the same kind of concerns that you do, but I mean, Vivek, he's kind of great.
I will say though, the fact that Trump raised the debt more than Obama is also deeply concerning. I didn't mention that earlier, but he campaigned in 2016 on how Obama was a big problem because he raised the debt more than all presidents in history combined. But then Trump went in there and was just a hypocrite,
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it, you have to take into account, it's like Congress was pushing through. It was, the vast majority of that spending was during the pandemic. And like, I think, in my opinion, I think it would have been like, just think what would have happened if Trump had like vetoed the COVID spending. It's just like, I feel like that would have been political suicide. I mean, people like you and me would have been like, yeah, no, that's what we need to do. But it's just like so many Americans were deluded by that whole thing that it would not have worked out well. And it was an election year. So it's like, I kind of feel like his hands were tied, so I agree. I don't blame him as much as, maybe you do or some other people do.
Does it bother you that he doesn't come out and say he was wrong about Operation Warp Speed, that he doesn't take accountability? It's pride. It's definitely pride.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think pride is probably his biggest character flaw.
Yeah.
you know, and it is a problem. I mean, I do think he's
still saying he saved 100 million lives with the vaccines. He needs to shut the fuck up.
He said
People are getting turned off by this. He said it numerous times in interviews in the last year.
Wow.
He said the vaccines have done great things. They've saved 100 million lives. I couldn't be more proud. It's probably my greatest accomplishment in my administration. That's what he said, quote.
Wow. Well, that's
greatest accomplishment in your administration in giving those. Are you kidding me?
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, can you say Big Pharma gave me a few $1 million to spew this nonsense?
Yeah. I know. I mean, I know he did get some money for.
Yeah, he did.
But it wasn't that much. It was like, I think Pfizer donated like $1 million to his, you know, like election party, post-election.
I thought he got more than that. I thought I read there were other times he got money from them.
Like, oh yeah. I just don't know. I hadn't really followed that as much. It could be a lot more.
Did you hear the breaking report? 2 gay dudes having sex on the Senate floor.
What?
Today. Yeah, making a sex tape. Ben Cardin's staffer, the Democrat senator, I believe, from Maryland. Is that Ben Cardin? I think it's Maryland, his state.
What are they like sneaking there in the middle of the night or something?
I don't know, but there's it's all leaking online, and there's
who broke this story?
It's all over. Everybody's breaking it. Everybody's talking about it.
I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah.
I'll have to pull that up. Wait, I'm just gonna put in. What should I put? Like gay sex on Senate floor.
Yeah. Gay sex Senate floor. You'll see. It's all over. Everybody's talking about it.
Dems. Oh yeah, town hall.
There he is.
Red State. Dem staffer busted for having gay sex in Senate hearing room. That's outrageous. You can't make this stuff up.
Oh, it's horrible, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm honestly just not.
What about Kanye West this week, man? What do we think of Kanye? I'm waiting for the album to drop, man. I'm excited. And he's really in the headlines, man. He's making noise again, dude. He's back. Mr.
I was
West.
kind of wondering I
would love to see Mr. West operating the West Wing one day. Wouldn't that be great? Mr. West in the West Wing. Mr. West in the West Wing. Yay, West, baby.
That would be pretty epic. He's a unique character. I mean, I don't know what I would think about him being president. I mean, it's like, I mean, that's again, like Alex Jones, kind of like this genius that is very eccentric, you know, and he does some odd things, but I think his heart's in the right place. And obviously he was, you know, it's like people, that whole, he's an anti-Semite and stuff. It's like, well, and that's just the whole equating like anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. You know, he called out the Zionists and, you know, and then they destroyed him. So it was like exactly what he said was going to happen to him.
Dude. Yeah. And it's so true. You know, he does that and they completely ruin his life. They go after him. They don't give him any breathing room. I mean, they are vicious. They are so aggressive. And all he did was speak the truth.
Yeah. I mean, I like, what do you think about because I mean, he said a lot of things. I was like, yeah, you know, but then he's like, I love Hitler. I love Hitler.
Here's what he was doing. He was trying to break the barriers for free speech.
I agree.
He was trying to basically test the waters and really, because he has that large following. He can't be controlled. He's arguably the greatest artist of his generation. He's a billionaire. So he wants to be that leader. He wants to lead the way so other people can just speak their mind without getting penalized, without getting criminalized, without getting canceled.
Right.
So I don't think it was necessarily that he loves Hitler. Right. He just wanted to say the worst thing that you're not supposed to say.
We've had this conversation. We've had this conversation offline. It's like, I don't think people just didn't understand that. And it's like, you know, how do you, you know, it's like, how do you have an argument with somebody that doesn't like Kanye and like, he literally said he loves Hitler, you know, it's like, okay, but that's not, I really don't think that's but that's what he said, you know, it's okay. Right. He did say that.
And he did make the point that all humans have something good about them. And
Right.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I thought that was fair too. I'm like, I mean, I thought it was pretty brilliant because he's like, he's like, I love everybody, everybody's got something redeemable about them, but it was pretty funny. I'm just like, wow. I mean, the fact that he is still a thing and he said like he can put out another album after saying I love Hitler is quite amazing. I mean, like who else could get away with that?
And I will say, the way he markets himself, beyond genius.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nobody better at marketing themselves and promoting themselves and earning those dollars than Kanye West. The guy has a plan. He's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. But the quote, I think the quote was, if I remember correctly, he said, there's good about everybody, and then the end is the best, even Hitler.
Even
Hitler. And then that's when everybody lost their shit.
It's like, oh, Hitler is pure evil. It's like, no, nobody is pure evil except for maybe like George Soros. He might be pure evil. Maybe Bill Gates too, but no, even they're not purely evil.
Yo, speaking of those clowns, those jerk-offs, did you hear the story? COVID hospitalizations are up 30%. In the U.S., yes, and China just reported, and this is perfect timing. New cases of new strains of COVID. Their people are infected, and
of course, man.
Election season.
Oh yeah, it's the election
lockdowns.
It's the election flu. That's what it is.
I mean, if it worked the first time, if 70% complied, like why wouldn't they do it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say 75% complied. I would say 25% fought back, which is not even close to enough to make a difference. I mean, sure, we're making a difference, but it's not enough to flip things. It's not enough to overtake things. They're going to continue this sort of nonsense for years to come because the experiment is in their favor.
Because we let them get away with it.
And all the naive and gullible people, man, that just continue to buy into the narrative. And when you put fear out there, that's what happens. People are going to react.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's maybe cover one more topic real quick, and then I'm just tired. And I was thinking, let's talk about maybe, I don't know, 5 p.m. on a Friday is kind of getting a little hard.
Let's change it.
I think we need to find a time.
Let's change. Yeah, no, for sure.
Because I'm like, by the time I get to Friday and it's 5 p.m., I'm like, man, I am exhausted. I got like nothing left. I just want to like lay on the couch and like veg out,
Right. Yeah, we gotta change that. We'll figure it out. Maybe like midweek would be better.
Yeah, I think midweek, maybe like in the evening sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll make that happen.
This is always a great conversation. I'm just like, man, I got like, I'm not at my best at Friday at 5 p.m. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And as a lawyer, with this whole Hunter Biden thing that came out this past week, what do you make of it?
Oh yeah, I did cover that quite a bit on my show. Which, by the way, if people don't know, I do have a show Monday and Thursday, 8 to 9 a.m. Central, and you can find, and that's on X or Instagram or Rumble. It's called Paul Davis Uncanceled. So, yeah, I covered that a lot. It's, I mean, the whole thing is outrageous. Just how. Just these Democrats can just lie to your face and not even bat an eye. It's like, I saw so many clips of Democrats just like, there's absolutely no evidence of Joe Biden's corruption. They don't even have a scintilla of evidence. It's like, what other evidence do you need? Like, this is like about as smoking gun as it gets. It's like you have a text message, and emails are like 10% for the big guy, and then you have a series of transactions, like a chain of transactions where it's like, 5 million comes over to from China, and then 400,000 goes to like this business entity, and then Joe Biden ends up getting 40,000 of that. Well, it's like 40,000 is 10% of 400,000, which would be that corroborates that other email. And then you got all the testimony from Tony Bobolinsky and Devin Archer, who are business associates, and the bank transactions to match it. It's like, what? That's like a prosecutor's dream. Like, that's beyond a reasonable doubt territory. And these, the Democrats are just like, I really don't understand their strategy because, while I get the idea that it's like, even Dinesh D'Souza, I think in one of his films was like, you never give up the con, no matter what, you just keep lying with a straight face and you say it as often as possible and people will believe it. But it's like also there is like actual smoking gun evidence. And so this has got to catch up with them sooner or later. But I'm just like thinking, and I'd be curious here what you think about this. Like, it's obvious Joe Biden is not going to beat Trump in the 2020 election. Like, it's not even going to be close. I mean, they're going to have to cheat, but I don't even think they can cheat enough to overcome the massive lead that Trump has over Biden in these swing states. So wouldn't it be in the Democrats' best interest to just be like, oh, you know what? Joe Biden is corrupt. We were wrong. He's really good at hiding it. They had all these shell companies and we didn't see it, but now it's obvious. And so, we got to get him out of office. And then they just put in Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama. I mean, that seems to be like a good strategy. Why aren't they following that strategy?
I think Gavin Newsom is going to get in there.
How do you think they're going to do it, though?
They're going to do it in a very subtle way, but they will make it happen. Biden will probably say he's got some sort of diagnosis, which people in their base will understand. And I don't know if Trump's electable. I think Gavin Newsom would beat him because Gavin Newsom's younger. Gavin Newsom would break the record with women voters. And we all know they make up the majority of the voting bloc, which is a problem.
Yeah, I know.
So, Trump. Here's the reason why I don't know if Trump's electable. I think the media has portrayed him a certain way, and people have that image in them, and I don't think that image is going away. You can't really change certain people's minds. And I don't know. I mean, I know he has his base, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, are they going to do what they did in 2020? Are they going to let him win? I don't think they're going to let him win. The elites. I just don't think. I think there's things that are against him.
There's some interesting theories out there. Actually, I'm going to try to pull up this tweet because I saw it. Harrison Smith does the morning show at InfoWars, and like, if you haven't watched, that's a really good show. Actually, like he's funny. He's got really good opinions. He does a good job covering the news. But he put out a tweet saying what he thought was going to happen, and it was really good. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Because he thought his view was, I think that they're gonna actually let Trump get elected and then take him out like at the last second because to like kind of
you gonna kill him?
Yeah, like kill him. Yeah,
that's what Alex Jones has hinted at.
Yeah, well, yeah, lots of people. I mean,
and all the legal problems. I think they'll get him on something where they do not want him in there. I mean, they already let him win in 2016. I don't think they're going to let the guy win. And
So it's either they're not going to let him win, but I mean, maybe they'll let him win, but they won't let him get in office. So and this was Harrison Smith's theory, which I thought it's interesting. So he says, if I was the man behind the curtain, I would let the 2024 campaign play out, increase tensions over the next 10 months as Trump defeats lawsuits and charges with a steady stream of manufactured crises to keep everyone on edge and at each other's throats. I would let Trump win, activate leftist mobs to riot in opposition, doing nothing to oppose them. Then, just before being inaugurated, take out Trump with a useful patsy, assassinate him, in other words, either a neo-Nazi extremist or a Hamas militant or maybe even a leftist. After abusing right-wingers and normal Americans for another year, keeping them from boiling over by, like he's saying, it would keep them from boiling over by dangling the hope of Trump only to snatch victory away at the last minute, then orchestrate violence in response and crack down on Republicans in a way that makes Jan 6 look like a picnic. If I were the most evil people in the world and wanted to cause the most amount of damage to America, this would be my strategy. Which I thought that was, as good a theory as I've heard.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that seems like something that they would carry out, something they would do.
It's anybody's guess. I mean, it's like they have so many different strategies that they could pull out. It's hard to say.
And think about the divide they'll get when he gets elected in the streets. Think about how violent it's going to get. If we thought 2016 was bad, 2024 is going to be an epic epic bloodbath, probably the worst thing we've ever seen in history, the way people are going at each other. And think about what divide does for the Democratic Party. It makes them more money. They can create more activist groups. They can raise more money. They can create all these different, talking points where they say they'll have solutions for. And it just, this is something I believe that, benefits them. Like you bring up a good point, because they profit off of divide.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they could kind of just keep it going. I mean, I think it could go in different ways. I mean, either like I think it's just as likely that they would that we're going to start. I mean, I think we're going to start seeing waves of terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, and I think that'll be an excuse to impose martial law. I think it could go that way, and they might use that to like cancel the election and start World War III, bring in another pandemic, just total pandemonium, Or they could go like Harrison said and just kind of dangle the hope of Trump to keep everybody kind of placated, and then just like take them out and really stir the pot. I mean, I think it makes sense. It's like you can tell the left wants another January 6th because that was so politically beneficial to them. It allowed them to just completely demonize their opposition and lock them up. So it's like, imagine what would happen if Trump was assassinated. And then, I think that patriots have probably learned their lesson that like, we're not going to do anything like January 6th ever again. But then it's like they could stage it, just which they did the first time too. But they could have all these like, Patriot Front groups out there, like, I don't know. Maybe that's when they'll take out the power grid. Who knows? There's just a million things that could happen.
Before we take off, do you think the Joe Biden impeachment inquiry is going to go anywhere? Or political theater?
It's hard to say.
I know they passed a resolution in the House, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's likely that he'll get actually impeached in the House, but I mean, I don't, the Senate's not going to convict Joe Biden. I mean, it's majority Democrat. There's no, you can already see how it's going to play out in the Senate because they're all circling the wagon saying nothing to see here. There's no evidence. And they're just going to keep saying that. I mean, it's not like I thought at first, like, the Democrats actually now want Joe Biden to be impeached because it's a convenient excuse to get him out of the way so they can, so Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama can come, Big Mike can come to the rescue. But now it seems like that's not the strategy they're going to take because they're all just blatantly lying about it. So it's like they're just going to keep denying. And then, maybe some horrible accident will befall Joe Biden or some, I think they'll get rid of him one way or another. But obviously, it's not going to be through the impeachment process.
Right. What do you think about the Federal Reserve interest rates?
Oh, what's going on with that? What are they going to do?
They're talking about dropping them in the coming months. They're going to be dropping rates.
So if they drop rates,
it's only going to lead to more long-term problems because then it's just going to go right back up eventually. It's going to lead to more inflation over time.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no soft landing on all the.
No, because the problem is the massive amount of spending. So like changing interest rates isn't gonna fix that. The Fed just makes me so mad. It's blatant in your face, just robbery. Like they're just taking money out of our pockets every day, and it's like it's infuriating. I talked to people. I talked to one of my buddies last night who's got a great job, and he's like a blue collar worker, but that's in high demand. He's got a good paying job. His wife, it's a dual income household. They got 2 kids, and they can't make ends meet. I mean, you see TikTok videos like that all the time, like that one that went viral with the nurse. She's like, "We went to college. We did everything we're supposed to do. My husband's like, I think he was an accountant or something like that." And they have 2 kids in a modest house and they can't pay their bills. Like, it's just crazy.
And you're a lawyer. I'm seeing a lot of cases being heard by the Supreme Court this month, more than ever before. Is it normal for them to hear an excessive amount of cases at the end of the year just to get it off their desk? Is that what they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the usual cycle. Okay. I mean, usually they'll kind of spend the first part of the, I'm not a expert with following the Supreme Court. I kind of just read the cases as they come out.
Right.
But I mean, my understanding, it's like they spend a lot of their time kind of picking and choosing which cases they're going to take. And then it's like, they'll start hearing all of them in succession. And then, then they'll issue their rulings. I know a lot of rulings usually come out in like May and June for cases they've heard kind of over the course of the year. So yeah, I don't think it's an abnormal amount of cases. I think it's just there's a lot of really high profile cases. Like I think that you're probably feeling that way or noticing that because it's like these cases are so instrumental to what the future of our country is going to be, that we're paying more attention to the Supreme Court, I think, probably than ever before.
Right. Do you have any updates on the war?
The Israel-Hamas war?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, there's a lot.
Got to be careful what you read, man.
Dude, there's a lot this week. I mean, it came out that Israel was delivering like New York Times, I think, broke the story that Israel was delivering bags of cash over the years to Hamas. Like, did you hear about this?
I'm not surprised. Funding the opposition. I'm not surprised. This is a common thing.
That was part of Netanyahu's strategy. Like, because originally, I mean, it's not disputed. It's amazing people still try to deny it. They're like, oh, that's propaganda. Israel didn't fund the creation of Hamas. Like, it did. It's like, you know how many?
You're anti-Semitic. How dare you?
Yeah, it's like Israel admits that. Like, it's not really up for debate. That absolutely happened. And it's like, well, I'm like, well, why do you think they would do that? They wanted to get rid of the PLO, which was actually being quite effective with advocating for, independent statehood. And, it's like, what better way to? It's obvious Israel wants to take Gaza. They wanted to take it for a long time. And what better way to do that than to install a terrorist government so they can just label the whole area as a terrorist state, and make sure that they never achieve statehood. And it's just like, I've just been thinking, I'm like people are just so easily fooled and just ignorant about this, because it's like, think back to the beginning of the conflict. It's like, the Rothschilds and the Zionists led by the Rothschilds funded an army to come in and throw the Palestinians off their land in brutal fashion. Like the Nakba was just absolutely horrific. And then it's like, and they put them in military occupation, take all the best land for themselves, take the majority of the land for themselves. And then it's like, at what point, people think Israel is the good guy. At what point would they have become the good guy? You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like the Democrat Party. It's like they're the ones that they were the party of slavery. They're the party of Jim Crow. And now people just think they magically somehow became the party of civil rights. It's like, no, they figured out a more nefarious way to subjugate Black people, which was, the Great Society, to get everybody on welfare and provide incentives to, they would just go into these Black neighborhoods that they devastated through Jim Crow and offer them welfare. Here's free money, but you only get it if you keep, if you don't get married and you don't have a husband in the home. It's kind of like that same concept. It's just like they just figured out a better way to subjugate the Palestinians and fool the rest of the world into thinking like they're somehow the good guys. It's like, how would they have become the good guys during that process?
Mind manipulation. They may not have the Blacks physically on chains, but they've got them mentally on chains.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, keep what you're saying.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I was agreeing with you. I was just saying so many, thankfully, so many people are waking up to that and just asking like, well, what has the Democrat Party done for the Black community? Like Trump obviously did a lot of good things for the Black community, but what can you name something the Democrats have actually done other than just like stir division between the races? It's like, how does it help Black people? How does demonizing white people as oppressors like actually help the situation? How does that help anybody? And so anyway, it's like other Israel news, they're like, so that came out that Israel is sending bags of cash to Hamas. It was supposed to be for the Gazan families, but they would just give bags of cash to Hamas. Like, oh, well, this is for the families in Gaza. Of course, they know they're never going to get that. Hamas is just going to keep it for themselves. So that happened. And then what else happened this week? Oh, they got caught using white phosphorus again, which is a war crime in southern Lebanon. It's just like, how does anybody support this? I mean, white phosphorus is horrific. So I know there's a lot more news. I can't even think of what else happened this week, but it was there is a video circulating where like the IDF had just gone into a school because they said there are Hamas terrorists in there, which, there probably were, there might've been, But they killed everybody. They killed everybody in the school, and the eyewitnesses on scene, like there was video like immediately after, were like they killed like the IDF's accused of shooting babies at like point blank range. I don't know if it's true, but that that's out there now.
Good Lord, man. And the way Republicans spew the narrative that Israel can do no wrong and we have to take the side of Israel and, we have to enable this crazy behavior of killing all these innocent Palestinians. Fuck that. I'm not getting on board with that. I ain't down with that.
Case in point right here. This guy, this piece of shit, Pat Fallon, the congressman. I'm at my office, so I was picking up my mail. This guy's the congressman for this area of in Collin County, and his whole mailer is, if liberals won't support Israel, I will. So long as Hamas terrorists in Gaza continue to fire indiscriminately and issue calls for genocide, there is no reason to inhibit Israel's response. It's like, wait, who's firing indiscriminately? I'm pretty sure Israel does the exact same thing. Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East, and I fully support their decision to take aggressive military action in the interest of their national security. It's just like, what really frustrates me is like when people say, oh, the only way for Israel to be safe is to completely eliminate Hamas. And to do that, they have to kill all the Palestinian people. That's the only way to do it. They have to kill all these people. And it's like, did you miss the part where Israel has the highest tech security fence, the highest tech security, and the only reason Hamas was able to do this is because Israel let them do it. So why don't they just go back to using our $4 billion a year to have the highest tech security fence ever and not let something like this happen? Why is that not the solution? Why is the solution to go in and kill every single Palestinian man, woman, and child because Hamas is hiding in the general population and using people as human shields? It's just sick. And what's also funny, he misspelled Hamas on the mailer, two M's there. So good job, Pat Fallon, you piece of shit.
What an asshole.
God, I hate that guy. If you look at people who have made the most off of stock trading in Congress, Pat Fallon is I think he's number 1 or number 2.
Speaking of the whole stock trading, a Congress individual, I don't know, I forget if it's a man or a woman. Anyways, it was reported the other day, they brought forth more legislation to ban stocks for sitting members of Congress and their family members. And it's all political theater. I'll say it over and over. That would be political suicide. They would not have any point of being there if that was the case. They wouldn't be able to enrich themselves, and that's why 99% of them go there. Yeah. Good Lord, these sort of bills shouldn't even be put forth. They should be banned from being put forth because we know that this sort of shit is never going to pass.
I know. It's total theater. It's a complete waste of time. God. Harry Truman, I heard a good quote from Harry. He said, show me a politician who got rich and I'll show you, a corrupt person, a criminal or something like that. I just butchered the quote, but it was something like that. I was like, yep, that's true.
Did you hear about the racist mayor in Boston, the Asian lady that wasn't inviting white people to the holiday party? Can you imagine if it was the other way around, dude?
Always. I mean, and I posted a video where it's all these clips of college professors literally saying white people, they were coming out in favor of white genocide. Just saying it we need white genocide. There is one actual white professor who said he was inviting white people to commit mass suicide. He's like, let's all commit mass suicide. It'll make the world a much better place. It's what the actual hell? That's just messed up on so many levels. I don't even get it.
What do you think of the whole satanic statue at the Iowa State Capitol that was knocked over?
That was all just awesome. It was just amazing. We need a lot more of that. If everybody was like that guy, we would have a lot less problems in our society.
And why is that sort of shit being promoted? Why is that enabled? Why is that okay?
Because this world is being run by a Luciferian cult. I mean,
It's
Oh man.
it's maddening.
Let's wrap it up because we
Yeah, I'm just looking here if we missed anything.
That was a pretty great story. I'm like, man, we need more guys like that.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. Oh, dude, did you hear about the flying plane scenario? They already have them on the market, and they're starting at about like 175.
Did you say flying plane? Like,
No, flying car. Flying car is what I meant.
Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there already are those. No, flying car, and they're starting at 175. It's already happening. It's already happening. People are going to have to get special licenses for it, and I imagine within 15 to 20 years, it'll be more and more normal.
That's crazy. Well,
I mean, go ahead.
I feel like only it seems like the point is to restrict travel. So I'd be interested to see like what the play is there. So if they're making it available to the masses, I'm sure our globalist overlords will find some way to shut that down. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. I hadn't heard about that.
All the road rage we already have. Can you imagine what air rage would look like? If people get mad at each other in the air.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't even.
People already have bad enough tempers, and there's already enough horrible drivers. Imagine how many horrible flyers there'll be.
Oh god, I don't even want to think about it.
I'll tell you, man, we live in a new world. Technology's moving way too fast, and what they're doing with these robots, what they're doing with AI, what they're doing with flying cars. Jesus.
Crazy time to be alive.
Crazy stuff, man.
So
we only got 2 weeks left until the new year. Can you believe it? 2023 is almost over.
I can't. I'm very excited because I'm taking a cruise. I've never been to Hawaii, and like I feel like
Oh, I've been there. I love it. I've been there so many times. I love it, man. Paradise.
I just bought a
no
cruise.
place like it.
I've never been, so I just booked a cruise not to Hawaii. It originates in Honolulu and goes around the 4 different islands. So I'm very excited about that. I'm just going solo. It's like
I love it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
On the experience, so it'll be fun. All right, I better sign off. I gotta.
All right, man. Well, another episode of Counterpoint in the books. Rory Sauter, Paul Davis. Everybody have a great weekend. God bless. Much love. Cheers. We'll see you all very soon.
See you very soon at whatever new time we decide on.